buildings account for 40% of our total energy consumption and have the highest greenhouse gas emissions.
Some of the biggest challenges for the building industry today are relating to sustainability and energy consumption.
Searching for an alternative that is less energy intensive, more recyclable, with a much lower impact on our environment is absolutely needed.
This is the time for it to happen.
Ceramics, it's a malleable, tactile and quite disobedient material, which is really why we like it. It's a material that demands that you touch it. It demands that you have a sensory, interactive experience with it.
Working with earth, working with clay, it's a fundamental quadrant of what it means to build. You're working with the earth. It's an unavoidable thing, no matter where you are.
Everything that we eat off, that we drink out of, that we walk on, that we live inside, is made of clay.
Now, when you go around museums, you see clay objects, and that tells you the history of our world.
And it's a material that can bring a lot of added value to spaces in terms of cultural identity or placemaking, or when we start to question vernacular styles.
Clay does humanise a form. It's something that makes a link between all of us.
It's also a material that has huge potential in terms of its phenomenological context.
A simple ceramic tile has an embodied energy of 2.5 megajoules per kilo, whereas aluminium, which is a material typically used in facade and environmental control systems, has an embodied energy of 227 megajoules per kilo.
It's a real low impact material. You dig it from the ground, you mould it, you fire it. A material which is incredibly accessible for us can generate very highly sophisticated products. We can start to find local solutions for global issues of sustainability.
We founded the ECAlab because as architects we wanted to face the environmental issues that we have to deal with. Our research brings innovation in terms of combining in an effective way four main aspects. The building performance is the control of the environment. To do this by using ceramics as a low impact material, developing a new design methodology that embraces digital tools such as parametric design, kinetic and algorithmic design, environmental simulations and digital fabrication. And the fourth aspect is to combine all these emerging technologies with traditional technologies, with craftsmanship.
So what we are looking for are synergies within the world of architecture, where we can bring together artists and architects in order to provide innovative and creative solutions and explore areas that weren't currently being explored.
I think the thing which ECAlab do is try and work out a way of asserting the role of craft in the architectural process.
From an environmental point of view, we develop a full architectural building components. It can be a ceiling, it can be a facade system, it can be a window unit, it can be a light pipe. And we want for this to have an active role in the environmental control of the building. And the main aim is to reduce the energy consumption in relation to lighting, heating and cooling.
Whilst we are really interested in emerging or nascent technologies, essentially what we look to deliver here through our components are elements that are truly buildable within today's world of construction. We really tried to generate an immersive and integrated environment whereby architects and ceramicists and engineers all work together really closely in order to generate solutions.
It was possible in the days of the workshop to undergo a complete process, to see a problem described, explore ways in which it might be solved and find a novel solution using a material people hadn't used before.
And that's not only just the design, it was seeing it through to the production and manufacture of the object itself, something that we don't usually get to be a part of. We were using software to calculate how effective the screens would be at actually performing the task of diffusing the light. but we were also using that at the same time as creating these objects with our hands. So there was a kind of cross process between the manufacture with your hand and the computer that would figure out whether it would work or not.
The role of the material in the end product and the process of inquiry using the digital means were both there with an equal part to play. Discoveries were made both in the sphere of the clay work and in the digital process. And so the binding of these two things in one space is quite rare and difficult to achieve in an educational context.
It was so special, and I love it when you put all these things together and it becomes more than what your expectations are.
We were initially concerned that these digital platforms might stifle the creativity of some of the solutions that we would be able to deliver, but in reality it facilitated a return to making, and it allowed the students to form and sculpt their designs in a way that they would not be able to do without these digital technologies.
During these 6 years, we have developed our program testing different processes and different methodologies. We have embedded the activities in the actual teaching curriculum. In other occasions, we have used summer workshops. But in both cases, it was through research-led teaching, and students were a key part of this process, both at undergraduate and postgraduate level.
The presentation was very generous, very geared towards involving all the participants in your research. There was actually a key job for the participants to do. That was the thing I thought was very successful and is very difficult to achieve in teaching.
Most of us produce research in our own particular context, but it is absolutely critical to make an impact on our society, to create efficient channels of communication between the different areas.
This collaborative way of working allows us to set our research in context, not only the context of what others are doing in research terms, but also through our professional partners. It allows us to set our work in context with contemporary architecture and what is happening at the moment.
The workshop has changed the way that I certainly look at techniques and processes, and how new technologies can be used in a dramatic way. And it can be used to kickstart an industry that in a way is in decline.
There's always things to be learnt by working in a transdisciplinary way. Generally, you open up much more opportunities than you can use. And that's the beauty and the intensity of the experience.
The work that we have developed in these years has also put us in a very good position to start thinking about a next level of research and production. We already have a consortium in which we have industrial partners, academic partners, laboratories, and engineering groups to develop 2 of the projects at this level, aiming at 2 patented architectural solutions.
That link between architecture and ceramics is really in its infancy, and there's a lot more mileage to work collaboratively with projects. I think the use of new technologies alongside traditional making techniques is something that really can be explored a lot further. But you still need to know how to make things by hand, and it's that making by hand that can lead those new technology developments.
It's about embodied learning, isn't it? You have to involve your body with the body of the clay. That experience changes the way that you see things. I think that's the thing which people will keep.